Okay, we are live. Hello. Hello, everybody.
Hi. Hi, hi.
Hi, Poka Readers. Is that what we call them?
Poka Reads.
The Poka Readers. Hello and welcome to Poka Reads. As some of you may already know, Poka Reads is an initiative of Poka Health, which is a period tracker and a women's health app that's rooted in African culture and designed to reflect the lived reproductive health experiences of African women. If you don't already have the app, you can check it out by downloading it from your app store on Android or iOS. This month, we've been reading The Teller of Secrets by Ghanaian-Nigerian author Bisi Adjapon, who is joining us live today for our discussion. Bisi, are you on? If your camera isn't on, can you please come on? Welcome to Poka Reads, Bisi.
Hi, how are you?
We're doing well. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. We are so honored to have you with us today. And before Bisi tells us more about herself in her own words, I'd like to formally introduce her. And if you have a copy of today's book, you'll already know this because it's in the back. Bisi Adjapon is the author of The Teller of Secrets, originally titled Of Women and Frogs. She has written for and has been featured in many publications, including McSweeney's Quarterly, Ake's Review, Washington Times, Washington Post, Al Jazeera, Brittle Paper, and the New York Times. She founded and ran the Young Shakespeare Company for 4 years in America, and as an international affairs specialist for the U.S. Foreign Service, she won the Civil Rights Award for Human Relations. She lives in Ghana and is a member of the Legon Tennis Club, where Jessie and her play together. Bisi, is that an accurate summary of who you are? What else would you add?
Well, I don't really have much to say. I mean, except I'm addicted to tennis and chocolates. That's all.
Nanajo is addicted to chocolate.
Oh, you are great.
You could have said that about me last year. I think I haven't had chocolate in so long. I can no longer boldly say that.
And you were never an addict.
I
Addicted to
grew
chocolate.
out of it.
Get out
I used
of
to
it.
have chocolate for breakfast and
I
lunch.
don't even want to grow out of it. I could not live without my chocolate and coffee in the morning.
Yes. What's your favorite chocolate right now?
Actually, my favorite, and this is great for me to shout her out. So, you know, Zeno yogurt, they make yogurt. They've been making
Yes,
they're making yogurt,
I
they've
know
been
her.
making honey, but now they've started making chocolate. And
Oh,
I love their
I did not know
flavors,
that.
and I absolutely love their chocolate because it's so well made, doesn't have a lot of doesn't have any additives, in fact, and doesn't have artificial sweetness and whatnot. And you know, they use a real cocoa butter, so it's not stiff, because what usually makes the butter actually hard is the more fat you add to it, believe it or not.
Oh.
So I absolutely love it. And they really make dark chocolate. When they say, you know, dark chocolate, I don't like very sweet chocolate, and they make 80% dark. And I have a little bit of chocolate every single morning with my coffee. And just
Full of
yesterday, I went to pick
antioxidants.
up my monthly supply. Every month I go there and collect it.
That's
If
so
you're
nice.
eating dark chocolate, that's actually good for you, full of antioxidants and all the good stuff. So
Well, thank God for that, because I'm not giving it up if they tell me come.
It might as well be good for you.
I'm not giving it up. I don't have that's my one vice. I'm not giving up. So I'm glad it's good for me.
you don't have to.
Yeah, is this the Xenos in Laboni or
It's
no?
the same. Zeno is just one company.
yeah. They have one.
They have branches all over. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jolu and all. Yeah. So
They make great Greek yogurt.
Yeah, I like their yogurt.
Yeah.
We're all paying for sponsorships if Zeno's is interested. So Poka Reads sponsorship for giving her free promo. Anyways, okay. So for today, Bisi, I'm just gonna start us off with just 3 general questions, and then I'll hand over to Jessie, who will lead us through a immediate discussion of the book. right, Jessie?
I did not know this, Tipora.
You think
Not
about
everybody.
it.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right. So I'd like to start with, I guess, hearing from you how your writing journey began.
What do you mean specifically?
Just, how did you start
I've been
writing?
writing all my life, so I'm not quite
Okay,
sure what
great.
you want to do.
So I guess, where did the passion for writing come from? Why writing specifically? Yeah.
I think that you just like to write. I mean, I've been writing, and as I said, since I remember my first time I wrote a letter. I was in class 4, and I wrote entirely in Chi. It was a letter, but I
Oh.
loved the process of actually crafting something. And I remember my father helping me because I had a friend who had visited and she was gone, and I wanted to communicate with
Right
her.
there.
My father said I could write, and I had to ask him, how do you write a letter? And how the dear blah 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 and G. And now thinking about it, my father made me write something truly corny. It started with Medofupa, which is my beloved, my good beloved, something ridiculous like that. Medofupa. And nije peace and metro.
Oh,
Right.
oh my God.
I remember. So when Saka, yeah, show me.
Yeah.
When you receive
That's
it,
cute.
please write to me too. And then after I was done with that, I was able to write everything I wanted to write. I wrote and wrote and wrote. I think I must have written pages. And this was to an older woman who was, well, in my eyes, if you're 4 years old, any 20-year-old, 25-year-old is an old woman, right? So I was so pleased when she wrote back. I mean, I had never received a letter in my life, and she was living in another town, and a letter arrived with my name on the back of the envelope and a stamp, and it was addressed to me. Oh my God, I was so happy. So I think I've always been in love with the written word, just the fact that you could write things. I was very young in school. I was about 2 years behind my classmates because my father, got me in early. And I remember there would be math, for instance. I would be asked to do arithmetic or something. I would not do the work. I would not do this, but I would spend so much time just writing the letters. I just enjoyed putting things down on paper, doing little twirls and swirlies around, but never actually solving any problem. I would write them all down, equal to, and the equal to, I didn't care what it was equal to. I just kept writing. So I think as early as I can remember, I've been fascinated. And I think when I was 6 years old, I made a book, and my poor father, always had to help me. And I think he kind of stitched it together by hand and needle and thread or something,
Oh.
trying to find it. And so I've been fascinated by books for as long as I can remember. And I always wanted to be a writer. That was my passion. Just a love affair with words, with the way they take shape on paper, the way they impact people, the way they can make people laugh or cry or get mad or something. I've always been fascinated. So I've been writing all my life. That's why when you asked, when did it begin?
What do you mean?
When did I begin breathing?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's lovely. Very cute story, and definitely a core memory because you remember it so deeply and so vividly. The very first time you wrote you started writing. Do you remember, I guess, when you started crafting stories? And just linked to that as well, what inspired Essie's story?
I honestly don't know anything. I just, like I said, I've always been fascinated. And I was fortunate enough to have, and I'm still in touch with her, my English teacher, right?
Oh.
Um, throughout elementary school, of course, I read all the time. And that's another thing. My father made sure I had books. I mean, I even had, AC's library was my own, actually. I had a library. Loved books. And so I remember that I just kept writing, and my teacher would give us, and this was in secondary school, Wesley Girls, she would give us a sentence, and while somebody else would just come up with one or two sentences, woe unto the class if the teacher pointed to me, a whole story, and literally the class would groan, and I would just keep going and going and going. My teacher adored it, even if it annoyed everybody else. And I remember that we used to have play competitions, and for my class competition, I wrote the play and we won because there used to be a competition all the time. I wrote the play for my class and we won. And then we ended up winning for also the whole school. And then we went on to regionals. And those days we used to have regionals, central region, and our school won, my play won. And we were about to go to nationals, and a TV producer actually, GBC TV producer actually came to the school, fell in love with my writing, and invited me to join the troupe. And it was funny because he had a troupe at a disco. So my principal would allow me to be taken from school and to go to a disco as the only girl to go act plays with the students there. So yeah, so I guess for as long as I can, I love writing. Daughter in Exile is actually my first book, and I wrote that way back in 2008, I believe. And at that time, nobody was interested in stories about immigration because Daughter in Exile is actually about a middle-class Ghanaian girl that immigrates to the United States and all her antics, right? So nobody was interested, and so I just put it somewhere. The Teller of Secrets was actually written as a joke. I met this wonderful
An
writer.
interesting fact. Okay.
Yeah, I was in New York. I attended a festival and I noticed this gentleman on the panel. I don't think I even listened to a word he said because actually I did find him fascinating. He was chewing his nails. He was wearing torn jeans. He had, this white guy with curly, kind of unruly hair. And he just seemed very interesting. But I was actually there to see a Nigerian friend, a Nigerian writer. And while I was waiting for him, because everybody had mobbed him, I found myself standing right next to this white guy. So I just started chatting with him. And I was telling him how I had written this book, Daughter in Exile. At that time, I think probably called Daughter of Ghana, and nobody was interested. And he said, oh, I'd like to help you. So he wrote his address on a corner of a paper, tore it, and gave it to me. And I took it back to my hotel room because I had traveled from Virginia to New York to meet my Nigerian friend. So I actually, the next day when I was leaving, I threw the paper in the trash. And as I walked out of my room, something said to me, yeah, you never know. Because, sometimes people say things in the spur of the moment, in the heat, they're feeling a little kind and warm, but they don't really mean it. But then I thought, what do I have to lose? So I went back into the trash can and retrieved the paper. And I went home and I wrote the first three chapters, I think, first two or three chapters of The Teller of Secrets, which at the time I called Of Women and Frogs. And I wrote it as a short story. And so I copied the first 3 pages and I sent him an email and I pasted the first 3 pages in the email. And I said, listen, hi, I'm Bisi. We met and you gave me your email. And so I've written something. Here's a sample of my writing. And listen, if you read it and you think I suck, don't worry, it's okay. But just in case, I'm just sending it to you. The very next day, he wrote back. He said, "This is fantastic. Where's the rest of the story?" So I sent him the rest. About a week later, now I'd forgotten all about him. I just thought, oh, it's a week. He won't mind me. So he wrote back to me and asked me, he said, can we publish this? And I thought, oh, who is this guy? So I went to Google him, not knowing one, he was a publisher of McSweeney's, one of the top literary magazines in America.
Wow.
Two, he was a Pulitzer Prize winning author.
Wow.
And it was
Wow.
my ignorance. I had no idea who he was.
And there you
I,
were.
if I had known, I might have been intimidated. I didn't know who
Yeah,
he was.
exactly. It's good you
Yeah,
didn't
it's a good
know.
thing you didn't know before.
It's a good
Yes,
thing, yeah.
for sure.
And so I said, yeah, why not publish it? And he published the story. And when he published it, now this is where it got interesting. When he published the story, I got an agent from New York reached out to me. She wrote to me. She said she read the story and she loved it. And she asked if we could talk, and we talked on the phone. And she asked me if I had more, was I writing a collection of stories, short stories, or did I want to, or was it something else? And I said, oh, yeah, I'm writing a novel, which was a complete lie. But I'm a novel, there's more. She said, okay, well, can you send me more? I said, sure, just give me a week. I sat down, with 50 pages, and I sent it to her.
Controlled
And she
itself.
got back to me a few days later and said, oh, I absolutely love it. We can do something with it. Do you have any more? Have you finished it? I said, oh, yeah. Let me get back to you in 2 weeks. Threw it together. And because I was doing it without any, I was just having fun.
No
That's how the
expectations.
Tale of Secret came to be.
Mhm.
And she said she liked it, and that's how the story came to be.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I don't know how many people know this, but that's such a fascinating, what do you call it? Is it kismet? You know, when things are almost meant to be, like how it just flows into each other and then the story is born. Like it just needed to be told and you met the right people and the right channels just allowed that
Yes,
to happen.
yes,
So
yes.
fascinating.
The book that I wanted to publish, and it wasn't after Of Women and Frogs was published, and then HarperCollins bought it, changed it to Tell of Secrets, and they bought the two books, The Daughter in Exile, they bought it at the
Oh,
same time.
nice.
It was interesting,
I wanted to ask you actually, because you have said the original title was Of Women and
Women and
Frogs.
frogs. Mhm.
Yeah, can you tell us about that? And
That's the title that I chose that I loved very much. But any a publisher buys
That's a
rights to the
cute
book.
cover.
Yeah, they can actually, well, usually the publishers usually end up creating their own cover, and they can also change the title. They were not going to, however, some, I think about 2 years or so after my book came out, or was it 3 years? It was 2020. Yeah. So 2 years later, this American woman wrote a book, and she titled it Of Women and Salt. So the publisher felt it was too close to my title and likely to confuse people, and people would think
Mm,
they already had their copy and wouldn't buy it. So we were forced to change the
makes
title.
sense.
And that's how they
Makes
tell us
sense.
to do. Yeah.
got it. Wow, that was a great backstory. Thanks for sharing all of that. So we can are we ready to dig into the
The
book?
reference.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've all read the book. Some of us read and listened to the book or both. Yeah, Jessie. Over to you.
Right. Yeah. So typically what we do is we have 5 or 6 categories that we discuss books
Yeah.
under.
Yeah.
About 5.
Just go ahead. Don't
Yeah, the
don't
plots,
need to
the
explain. Just
themes.
go ahead.
Yeah, so I think we should let's start with the plot. What do you guys think of the plot? And after that, then I guess we can ask BC questions directly about the plot. For me, after I read it, I said, this is definitely a coming of age story.
Yeah.
A coming of age story of Issy. And the most interesting part to me was, I suppose we met Issy when she had lost her mother, but she didn't know it yet.
Mhm.
That she had lost her mother. And you see her navigate through the early stages of life. She had just come from Nigeria. She lived in Ghana. And then goes to secondary school, self-identity, knowing herself in different ways, mentally and physically as well. And then eventually at the end, Issy coming into herself and then choosing herself and making a choice that I was personally glad she made.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think?
I like the plot. We met her quite early in her life. She was maybe 5, I think, or something when we met her. Or 9, I think she was 9. She was quite young and kind of figuring things out. And by the time we meet her, she's already, I guess, experiencing sex for the first time, if vicariously. And
True.
I like I liked watching her grow up. I really enjoyed watching her grow up and come into herself, come into her feminism, and I guess through her discovering the things that she likes, through discovering the men that she likes, and just discovering a career she wants. I was really, really happy for where she ended up as well. And yes, because I'm a big romance reader, it would have been nice to get like a happy ever after. But
Yeah.
as the story went on, I realized that there's no happy ever after that makes sense for me with any of the men that she likes at the moment based on where she has gone, where she's come from, and where she was heading towards. So the ending really was the best ending she could there could be for her and the other side characters. So I enjoyed the plot very much.
Same. I think, and also I, especially when I read it when it had the old title, same thing, but the frog symbolism was very, like the first part where she said that her friend said if you were bitten by a frog or a frog spit on you, then you would become a boy. And the whole going through her story, her realizing that the patriarchy was something that she would have to deal with the rest of her life, and where she was like, okay, maybe I do want a frog to bite me, I do want a frog to spit on me so I can become. I really enjoyed the plot. I feel like the whole, like everything felt symbolic in the story, and I like that. I liked seeing her grow. She lost her innocence early without losing her innocence. I don't know if that makes sense. Like she didn't realize that, I've lost my innocence or whatever it is, the notion of innocence that we have. And that was nice to watch her grow up and realize all these people and all these things that they did were things that made me quote unquote lose my innocence, but none of it was my fault. Like a lot of symbolism around that. And I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as someone that feels like solely lacking when it comes to Ghanaian history, it felt like traveling back in time and, experiencing Ghana in like post-independent, right after independence. And I think while I was reading it, thinking about, oh, so this is when my parents, like were growing up and how Accra was. And I know their circumstances were different. We're from the north of Ghana, but yeah, I really enjoyed all the history and that was interlaced in the book and just, seeing what was going on, the revolution, like the changes just through this little girl's eyes. So for me, that's kind of what was special about the book. Just, it's like a time capsule. And I was just, peeping through and learning about so many different things. And, really, I guess reflecting on what's different now between now and then, like have things really changed? Like her father kept saying, what was the saying kept saying about husbands, like the
Oh
husband,
my God.
what was it? He had this
Husband is
phrase.
Your
a
glory is in
woman's
your
glory or
husband.
something. Oh
Yeah,
my
your
God.
glory.
Yes.
He said that so much.
He said it a
It's
few times.
interesting to know nothing has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said it a few times. Yeah, politically, socially, like we can dig
Right?
into that,
Politically,
but you know
yeah,
what I
exactly.
mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's I felt like I was just reliving a snapshot of Ghana and I enjoyed it. Yeah. Thanks for that throwback.
Yeah. But
All right.
having
I haven't heard from Nana. I'm watching you.
Oh, I spoke first.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yes.
Yes, I was the
good.
first one.
That's why, maybe. Okay.
Maybe you didn't hear me. But don't worry,
Oh,
you'll
I
get
did.
tired of me
I did.
shortly.
I heard everybody. I was
Oh.
watching your face. Yeah,
I was going to
good.
say that as someone that both read and listened to the book, I did not enjoy the tree in the book.
Oh, yeah.
The audio, the audio
I have
reader,
to
yeah.
forgive her. She tried.
I think she did
You know,
try.
Is she Ghanaian?
she tried. Well, here's the
No,
thing
I don't think
that
so.
you don't realize about West. First of all, for instance, I fought desperately to narrate the book. I felt as though I
Yeah,
knew,
Honestly,
sure.
I was
I
like,
knew
why
what
did she
they
narrate it
sounded like.
herself?
Plus, I used to be a theater director. Hello, and I've been acting in my life, and I know
I
how
can
to.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually done vocal training for people in the theater, but they said, nay, 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 nay,
Oh,
nay.
wow.
Because
Why?
they have a policy that according Not until then. Readers do not like to hear the author's voice. Now,
Yes, we do.
That's not
I
true.
believe that they have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But the point is that once somebody buys rights to your book, to some extent, they have the upper hand when it comes to certain things.
Yeah.
And so what they did do was give me a bunch of tapes to listen to and to select somebody. Some lovely African American with what I call the Wakanda accent, like
Oh
what
gosh.
they think is an African, universal
African,
African
yeah.
accent. Tried to do a little sing song, and I nearly passed out. I said, no, no, no. I love my American siblings, but not this time, not for this one. And then they gave me a Nigerian, and I kept trying to tell them, you can't just, it's not every they have no clue. And I felt as though at one point I wanted to just poke my eyes out because they were not getting it. So
Why do you
finally,
think they would let you lead? Because you know the story,
I
you know what
know.
you wrote.
right. So then we got this submission from the UK, and it was a Ghanaian, and she had a Ghanaian name, Adwoa Boache. And she's, of course, very British,
Yeah.
but she did try. She was Chi, and she kept telling me that, oh, she talked to her parents, and the parents said that she was doing a very good job. And I said, look,
I mean, there were parts that you could tell she put
Your
in.
parents will always say that.
they are always going to tell you,
You're doing a good job.
Yeah, your parents.
And I was with her, and I actually went through the book with her. I did an audio of all the pronunciations, how to pronounce every single sentence. I did it. And we even got together and practiced and practiced and practiced until I thought she got it. But when it was recorded, what came out was, I mean, she didn't help it. She was born and bred in the UK, so she's as British as can be. And, she did her best. So what can I say?
I do
Out
think
of the
she
tapes
made
that
the
I
effort.
had, but I will also say, I'm so glad that she did it because she turned out to be a wonderful person. She came to Ghana, asked to meet me, and I met her, and we become great friends since. And I can't complain. She tried. And she also did Daughter in Exile. Now, that was a lot harder because Daughter in Exile had more chi. So, ouchie, ouchie.
But I will say that there were parts where I was like, oh, okay, she's sort of getting it. And then the next scene will be like, maybe not. But yeah, it was
But if the job had to go to someone abroad,
might as well.
a Ghanaian British who tried her best. She really did. The other thing too is that what I didn't realize is that they give you a very short time, and she's paid by the hour, and they basically did not. I think she had to do it within 2 days or something, the entire book. So there's no time to do a lot of
practice. Repetition.
I think it's all about the mood.
Exactly.
Anything else about
I got a great friend out of it. So
there you go.
She's been like a sister. She visits me when she's in Ghana. We have a blast together.
Oh, that's nice.
That's nice.
Maybe we can ask Bisi why this plot? Like, why were you inspired to write about this era or,
Okay, so, cards on the table. I already told you how the book came to be. It was an accident. I was just trying to show somebody what I could write. But I think when I went home and I was thinking about what to show the author, I didn't want to show the author the writing that nobody was interested in, Daughter in Exile. But I remembered this thing where I actually had a friend who I was the one who was scared of frogs. Every night I would listen to frogs, after the rain. And we lived in a forest area and you could hear the frog. Wah, wah. And I would watch them and think, oh my God. So really, just imagine if this frog hopped on my leg, I'm going to turn into a man. And my greatest nightmare was waking up to find myself with the pennies. Something
that's a legitimate nightmare.
I'm like, ow, okay, I'm so feminine. Yay, thank the Lord. So
what's your biggest fear?
And also I was aware of this punishment of putting ginger between people's legs. I was aware of the fact that girls were not allowed to explore their bodies the way men were, the way boys were. So this whole thing just came together as I was sitting on the couch trying to figure out what to write, this thing just hit me. And
Inspired.
once the woman liked it, I started to think, and I think, oh, I remember I was a teacher also. I went to the classroom and I read it to my students, the short story. And they were like, oh, go on, go on, go on. And then we just started to think about all the possibilities. And I thought, why don't
Right.
I just take her through the journey of becoming a woman? Because in my own family, we have 7 sisters and 5. So I have 6 sisters, 7 women, 6 sisters and 5 brothers, 11. And it was very clear. You could see very clearly the 2 different trajectories when it came to how the girls were raised and how the boys were raised. It was so clear to me. And as a child, I always thought many things were unfair. So once I started, it just, sort of started coming to. That's how
Yeah.
I did.
I think that's a nice segue into the themes. And the first thing we can talk about is teenage sexuality and how most often women's first, minus Essie, women's first sexual experience is with a male partner, and a man's first experience is with themselves. So they get to know themselves, they know what they like, they know how to communicate what they want in a sexual encounter to the woman. And a woman really doesn't, because we are not allowed to explore and touch ourselves, and it's seen as this very taboo thing, and you're called a bad child, and ginger is inserted into your vagina, which is, my goodness.
Brutal. It's barbaric almost, right?
Yeah. I
And
don't
if
know
you
who came up with that idea.
think again, it has not stopped. It's
Yeah,
still
who came up with that idea? Like, it's like, let's bet, like, it's so bad. Anyways, and it hasn't stopped, you're saying.
No, it
Well,
hasn't.
Yeah. So teenage sexuality, what do we think? What do we think about Izzy's growth and her finding herself at the age, was it 9 or was it 11 when she went
11 is when
11,
she starts.
right, went in to get the comb for Sister Ya. And then she decides to look at her vagina, which I think
Just
is
so casually.
You know your vagina, you should know what it looks like. It's a part of your body.
Yeah.
Everybody should. I mean, it's a very curious thing that's almost alive and is there, and you never see it. And you have to actually take a mirror and contort yourself to actually
look at it.
see
Yeah.
it. And but boys are different. I mean, the whole thing is there.
It's right there.
There was this, I don't know, like I felt throughout the book, especially when it came to women, there was this, I don't know if it's a tension or contradiction, but at the same time that it's being spoken about that, women's sexuality is bad and that you're not allowed to, like I felt like there was a lot of talk about sex and sexuality, while at the same time there was a taboo against it. So there was that, it's like it's so present in society, the women getting pregnant, everybody talking about like the feelings they have towards other boys and like their desire to explore themselves. Look at what's happening in the secondary schools. Like it's just the air's thick with this sexuality or this sexual tension, and yet at the same time, and everybody's aware that this is happening and that is present, but at the same time it's punished. And like, so there was this weird contradiction in society. I don't know if that was intentional, Bisi, on your end to maybe showcase that, but that's what kept coming out for me. I'm just like, why is everybody talking about this? And at the same time, you're not allowed to talk about it. What's happening?
Well, I mean, it's going on, isn't it? I actually wrote an essay, a blog once called Penises Everywhere. It's everywhere.
really is,
I mean,
yeah.
think about all the male singers are always singing about this and about meno beoba boom boom boom. I'm going to dip it in and blah 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 and ensure
What about the one with the
water. Yeah, water is going to
Adwoa
meet water.
Yeah.
Although
I
don't
love
talk
that
about that one.
song so much.
Adwoa gets on my nerves. That's sweet pedophilia.
No, it's a whole different
Before I knew
story.
what it
I'm
meant,
talking
I loved
about
it.
just the way the society is structured. And you look at how, for instance, right, if a man is walking along the street and he feels like urinating, he won't wait to get to a bathroom. What does he do? He whips it out right there in front of you, behind you, wherever he feels like doing it, against the wall, and he draws a mound. And he goes up, and afterwards shakes, tucks away, and goes on his merry way. Nobody sees anything wrong with it. And somebody even told me when I complained, a man said, "Don't you understand that it hurts?" And I said, "Do you think that women, we don't hurt where we need to go? We also feel as though we are going to burst. However, we are required to find a bathroom. You see a woman squatting by the street of Accra, just everybody's just going to hit the roof. So there's always talk about sex, but always in terms of men's pleasure, in terms of them sowing their seeds, in terms of them just making children and all those things, right? But for the woman, no, you're supposed to be a good girl. And you go to church, and even when they talk about being chaste, the pressure is put on the woman to make sure she doesn't tempt people. Thou shalt not wear makeup, and make sure that you're all covered. And if you're raped, well, it's just your fault for exposing yourself. Whereas the man is not supposed to be responsible. And in fact, if a married man has an affair, everybody gets upset with the woman for stealing the man, as if the man had no responsibility.
Agency.
Think about it. I mean, did the woman who is having an affair with a married man, is she the one who made a vow to keep the wife happy until death? No, she never made. The man who made the vow, who's broken the vow, everybody is criticizing the girl who tempt or no tempt. You are the one who made the vow. So there's all this. It's there. Sex is in our. If the food we eat, we talk about towards talk about anything that's slippery, that's awkward, that blah, blah, blah. We constantly talking about it. Yes, it's true. It's in society, it's in the air we breathe, but always only in terms of a performance by a man. Now, my real concern was that women were being raised, are still being raised, because there is this organization that was spearheaded by a friend of mine, is spearheaded, I should say. We call her Poetra Asantua, and it's called Black Girls Glow. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Black Girls Glow, yeah.
Yes, and they have been going to schools trying to educate people. And I just saw a video they did. They actually videotape some of these things, and in a classroom, and we're talking about today, in the Volta region, they were in a class, and they asked the girls if they knew, they had a picture of a vagina, if they knew what it was, what was the name, and a girl raised her hand and said, "It's a manhole." And
a manhole.
a manhole. And she said the teacher taught them that it's a manhole. So even as a child, conditioned to think that that thing between your legs is there.
It's for a man.
Doesn't belong to you. Ooh,
doesn't belong to you. Do you see how easy it is for a child then to be molested, or to be, or to just given sexually, because in her mind it doesn't even belong to her. It's a manhole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That
was really why I just thought it was just so unfair for women not to be able to. So if you were, and when you said men experience pleasure with themselves, I think girls do too. It's just that they don't talk about it because they are not allowed to. And like they are filled with guilt. You masturbate, you have an orgasm, and you think, "Oh my God, I'm going to go to hell." And AC had this vision of an angel coming to strike her in her bed or something for something that she did. But men actually trained to, they not trained, they are allowed. So they grow up with the notion that, in fact, if you have too much of a sperm built up, that it's not good for you. They actually talk about it in terms of sex being great for your prostate. Well, what they don't talk about is sex being good for women. Sex, for instance, keeps menopause away. When you are menopausal, I had to have a hysterectomy. And I remember my doctor asking me, "Are you sexually active? Because we're not going to give you hormones. Hormones could lead you to have cancer. But if you're sexually active, then your ovaries, oh no, whatever. Basically, your body is going to continue to produce estrogen, because the body is trained to produce whatever it is you need. That is why breastfeeding, so long as the baby is eating from the breast, you continue to produce milk. When you stop breastfeeding the baby and you try to wean, then the milk production comes to a stop. But some people in the olden days could breastfeed until the child was 6, even 8 years old, and the milk would just keep going. So it's the same thing with sex. But with women, it is particularly important because with menopause, if you're not sexually active, then you're going to age faster because then, the hormone production would just come to a screeching halt. And that's when they're going to have all the attendant, other things. But men are taught this, or they're allowed to have those thoughts, those feelings. Women are not. And that is the problem. Yeah.
All right. So having sex a day keeps menopause at bay.
I really like that. I read an interview where this old actress, her name is Susan Sarandon, and she had sex every day. And she was like, yeah, I mean, why not? What am I going to do? I eat every day and I need food, nourishment. So why don't I nourish my other bodily
Fair
parts?
enough. Fair enough.
Go, girl.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. And around women's sexuality, what I've noticed in since we started Poka, actually talking to women about different menstrual methods of collection, I guess, we frame everything around our vaginas and taking care of vaginas with a male gaze and a male lens. I use a menstrual disc for blood collection when I'm on my period. And typically, like, women think, oh, is it not going to make my vagina big? Is a man going to enjoy sex when they have sex with me? Like, everything is just framed.
Listen, a
The
baby
male
comes out. You
gaze.
see the size of a baby? If a baby
Baby.
can come out of that cell, please.
What am I going to do to my
How big
vagina
is
to
the
make sure
dick?
men enjoy sex? Like, I don't care. I'm not
But
going
you
to.
know how big some men are? Allow me to.
Not so.
Some men can scare you. They look bigger than plantains.
Small menstrual cup is what they're scared of.
Small menstrual cup, you fold, actually. You fold it.
Exactly.
So that's crazy. A manhole is crazy. That's
That's ridiculous.
wild.
Yes.
What did you guys think of the sexuality, the teenage sexuality in the book?
I think one of the things, like, in addition
In fact, and let's qualify,
sexuality-
right? It's not as if she was even having intercourse. She's basically
No.
experiencing masturbating, which is a very normal thing, a very normal thing that people do. Young men even have wet dreams and whatnot. And women, by the way, young girls also can have wet dreams.
Wet dreams.
And the curiosity about, you're trying to sleep. You can't sleep because something is throbbing between your legs and you decide to take care of it and you've done something wrong. No. So that is the kind of sex that she was having. And then there's also all those things that you do, as in anything but penetration.
Good.
And you think, absolute virgin, didn't do anything wrong. And that kind of thing. And those are things that girls do also, just as men do. And so, yeah, so just, we're not saying that, and I'm saying this for anybody who hasn't read the book. It's not carte blanche to say young people, teenagers should be, engaged in having intercourse. So we need to just clarify that. Just
Right. Yeah. Okay.
understand when we say teen, we're just talking about discovery. We're just talking about exploration.
Sexual exploration. And even, yes, it was self-exploration, but also, well, I guess that was a bit of assault, but when she went out, and it's like young children also
that boy in the
themselves,
neighborhood.
you know
Yeah,
what I
but
mean?
that's different.
Yeah.
That's more
Yeah.
like, young people, and the boy was also quite young. And let's also,
Yeah.
Yes,
the boy was
exactly.
14 and the girl was 11. So these are children.
Children exploring with
You know,
themselves.
maybe the boy too has been exposed, because that's another thing that unfortunately in some villages, in places where children share space, live in sleep areas with grown-ups, sometimes grown-ups assume that the child is asleep. And I guess it can't be helped. You go to a village where father, mother, all children are sleeping in the room. They kind of wait for the children to go to sleep.
It's the snoring to start.
Sneakily do something. But children have a way of always knowing what you don't want them to know. They wake up. So who knows what the child also had been exposed to. Usually children just want to, when they play games, let's play mommy and papa. And so the guy says, let's play. The guy starts to do something. She doesn't see anything wrong with it because she has witnessed her father having intercourse and doesn't see anything.
Yeah.
So she
That's a
realized,
little bit
hey,
traumatic,
this
to
is
be
going to
fair.
hurt. And she puts a stop to it, and that's the end of the matter. But how do grown-ups handle that? Instead of talking to her,
Talking about it.
instead of
Teaching her.
explaining why one should not be doing that, she's
Yeah.
shamed, she's called a prostitute, and then the ultimate punishment, this time sit on a pot of boiling water to heal you. Actually, it was supposed to be healing. And
Which
that's
she
also
felt like was a punishment.
But it was
the
too much.
old-fashioned belief that anything that hurts will kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I think
that's
around sexuality, maybe she had too much, like you said, of an early exposure from being on the bed when her father was essentially cheating on her
Don't do
stepmother.
all spoilers for people who haven't read.
true.
No,
Not too
not
many
okay. So this is
spoilers.
okay. Trying not to be so spoilery, but she had a very early exposure to all things, I think, sexual, and then the exposure without the attendance conversation around it was the problem. Because if she had been exposed, but then they had discussions and said, "Hey, this is for this. This is called a vagina. This is what it does. That thing there's your clitoris. It does X, Y, Z. Boys must not put the penis inside the vagina. Blah blah blah." Like they didn't have any of these conversations with her, and I think
Yeah.
that tends to happen a lot and around sex in African communities, and it's a big part of the mission that we are on at Poka, trying to demystify sex and women's health so that young girls, women like us, are learning about our bodies, understanding our bodies, and we're not shrouding things in mystery, because then you end up at a certain age where you don't know anything about your body, and so you're going to take on whatever somebody else tells you your body should be doing or feeling as gospel. And I think that's what she went through for a while. And honestly, we'll come to characters, but I was impressed with Kayode, I don't know if I'm saying it right, who at that point,
Save.
hang on, your favorite character,
No,
right?
I was about to
Yes.
be upset,
The perfect
and then
gentleman.
I saw his age, and I'm like, okay, you know what?
He was what, 19 when they
Okay.
met, when she was, I think,
Yeah, she
14
was also a
or 15.
teenager. I mean, they
He
all
was also a
young.
teenager, but a wise
Yeah.
man who says, no, you're too young to have sex. I think
Exactly.
Kayode didn't wait long enough. But the fact that he
Waited
waited.
long enough, like 3
You
years.
said you think he didn't wait. He waited 7 years. That's not long enough. Or was it
No,
5
no,
years
to
or
have sex
something?
with her, they didn't wait long enough.
They didn't wait long enough.
No,
I
no,
think
but she
it
was
was
still
18
2
and a
months
half.
go to the
when they had sex.
university. I mean, come on.
Especially for a young man with raging hormones, I feel like
He
he
tried.
didn't
He did
know.
try. He waited
They
what, 2 or
waited.
3 years before. Was that 3
They
years?
waited.
And it was
Waited
consensual.
long
She
enough.
wanted, he
And it
did
was
not have to
consensual.
convince her. In any case,
Yeah.
she was doing the convincing.
The
Don't
girl was
forget,
actually
this is
harassing him
somebody
for
who
time
was
she should be
ready, like,
listening.
okay, I'm ready. And the guy is saying, no, 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 wait.
And I think
How
actually
long?
listening to that,
I didn't think,
she felt like she was ready because of the exposure. She didn't know what sex was, how it would feel
no, no,
like,
no.
what she was supposed to
I
do.
beg. Don't create things that were not there. She felt
That's
it,
the impression
and
I thought
it's
I
not
got.
because of the exposure. I mean,
He was ready.
are you telling me that maybe for you,
Mhm.
but there are lots of teenagers that actually feel very sexual. The age, once you start to have your period, now remember that
Mhm.
the primary function of sex, I'm sorry to say,
Reproduction.
biologically, is reproduction. And so when the body starts, the hormones start and you start having babies, I mean, you start having your period, then
Yeah.
sexual urges also can begin.
Yeah.
And it works also for men too, boys too. 15, what does they start ejaculating, having wet dreams? That's when they start doing, crazy things like staring at women's legs and stuff like that. So I beg to differ that it's because of early exposure, because remember, until she actually understood what the period was when she started having period, it was after she started having her period that she said, oh, let me get to know my body. So my body is doing wonderful thing. Let me get to know. So something, and then having actually had experienced an orgasm through that, she's thinking, oh my God, it must be even better.
Better.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say it's because she's been exposed and take away her agency. I think it's because she wanted to.
She wanted to.
Please, that's the way I conceive the character in my head. That
Well, the way it was expressed to me was a little bit different. Like I thought that
what was
I take
expressed
your
to
point
you,
on it.
and you know something though, I'm glad that you're saying this. I think that we all come to read with, and no two people experience books the same way.
The same book,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that
Absolutely.
everything in us, how we interpret things depends upon who we are.
Yes.
So you have a right to your opinion and you have a right to your conclusion. If that is the way it made you, that is the way it came across to you, then that is the way it came across to you, and your feelings are as valid as anyone else's. So
Yes, yes. I think I just felt very protective of Issy from the beginning. I felt
Yeah.
like nobody was protecting her. And it felt like she was just like let on the highway with no warnings and just kept barreling and barreling and barreling. And if she had not met the right person in Coyote at that age, she would have had terrible experiences.
Exactly.
You're quite
So
right.
that's
Another person would have taken advantage and said, "Oh, you want to? Allow me to show
and
you."
then
Exactly.
she would have just kept
Absolutely
going on
right.
and on with
Yeah,
different men
absolutely right.
until she's 20 and it's like, oh, maybe I don't really want this. And now she has to go through all this trauma, unpacking her trauma and all of that stuff. So that's how I felt about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
remember that it didn't happen until she had finished sixth form. So
Secondary
we're
school.
talking about her meeting this guy when she's almost 15, and she's in form 3 or something of the sort. And remember, the educational system was longer then. It was
Yeah.
7 years of high school. So by the time it actually happens, she's almost 20. That's what you have to bear in mind.
Right. I thought she was
Yeah,
16.
no. 16 was, she was
She was
asking for
about to go to the when she met him, she was 15, I think.
yeah,
Was she
15, but she
15?
lied
Just
and
But
said she was
she lied
lied.
she was
She
16,
lied
but
and
she's
said
almost
she was
16.
16. But
yeah.
it didn't happen until years later when she was about to go to the university. And those days, people went to the university when they were 19 because of the way the education system was longer.
Yeah.
So she was older than you think. She was
Yeah.
older.
Right. Because I
But
think in
it
my
is
head I
a
thought she was
fact.
16. And I was like, that's so
But
young.
yeah, but
No,
it is also, no, she was not 16 when
she
she
was
had
older.
sex. But it is also a fact that had she not met Coyote and at 15 expressed a desire to have sex, somebody else would have said yes. So if to
Exactly.
get to Coyote, remember when Coyote met her, he was 19.
19.
Men reach their sexual peak around 25. So can you imagine what it was like for him to wait during his peak when he was raring to go to wait for her? So she was a lot older. She was, by the time they did it, she was 19. He was about heading for 25. So that's what you have to understand.
Yeah.
And the thing
Yeah,
is,
Ellie,
and
we didn't
part
hear your
of the
thoughts. We didn't hear your thoughts on the sexuality piece. I know you've been gearing to jump in.
yeah, I was saying that even though
Oh, I'm
even
sorry, yes.
oh no worries about it. Even if she the fact that she met Kylie was a great thing because for a lot of girls, even when you're saying no, it's not a thing because men don't care. And so the secrecy, the shame around sex, all of that were against her. But I feel like Coyote was a character that was brought in there to sort of like guide her because if not for Coyote, it's either she would have found another guy, she could have been abused again, she could have gotten pregnant. Like there was so many things that like in that just the whole shame and secrecy around sex. I remember having a conversation with someone about giving young people condoms for sex. And they're like, you're trying to get the girls to have sex. I'm like, they're having sex anyway. Can we give them
I know.
that they're not going to get pregnant when they're not ready so that they're not going to get sexually transmitted infections? Because these boys out there are sleeping with multiple people and sleeping with these girls. And so they're at risk without realizing how much risk they're at. And I'm always saying that pregnancy and having a baby is a life. It's a what do we call life sport. Like people die doing this, and little girls should not be doing this.
Yeah.
So it's like we have this shame around if you're going to tell them about it, then you're going to encourage them to have sex, but they're doing it anyway. And the research actually shows that if you're telling them about it, you're delaying when they're starting having sex and all that. But the Ghanaian society is often not ready to hear that. Yeah.
So what you're saying, if I may say something else, is when I went to Amsterdam in I think 2023. And my nephew, who lives there, took me to the red light district.
Ooh.
Wife was actually horrified that he had taken his young son there. And the statistics, I was startled to find that Amsterdam actually has one of the lowest teen pregnancy rates in the
In the
world.
world.
Wow.
Mm.
Also, this very open society and the way they talk about it and the way they let kids understand what is going on. So the secrecy, I think, like what you say, is what is really harmful. And I have a friend who is a gynecologist who read of Women and Frogs then when it first came out. She must have bought like about 30 copies, just handing them out to parents.
Oh, I love that.
If a teenager comes to you and wants to be protected, you do in fact provide the condom and the protection because you don't know what situation they might find themselves in. And I created Coyote after a character that I knew. And
Okay.
I did that because I felt as though AC had been exposed to so much, and I wanted her to actually have a positive sexual experience. So we had
Yeah.
to be with somebody
So
who
important.
really loved her, who actually protected her innocence, so to
Yeah.
speak, until she herself was more than ready, and
Mm-hmm.
also did his best to protect her and not get her pregnant, unlike you know who.
Yeah.
I also like, I mean, I guess before we kind of wrap up on the sex, but I also like that you wrote SC to really enjoy and receive pleasure from sex. And so she was very orgasmic, which, you know, it's something to envy, I think. But so she
The saddest thing, and I've met somebody that throughout our youth, when I say our youth, I'm talking about, in our 20s, and where I was having a jolly good time. I
oh,
don't think she became orgasmic until maybe in her 40s or something when we finally.
oh,
So we're talking
Wow.
about very
That's
recent.
sad.
And that
That's a
was
long time to just
That's a
keep
long
going.
time.
So
but it had to do with the guilt because I
Oh,
think there was something about to do with the upbringing, and she had an orgasm that scared her or something that made her feel that it was wrong. And so she would
Even
be
though she was old enough.
almost getting there and something, a psychological blockage.
Mental.
yeah.
And we
I
talk
remember.
about how it's very mental for us.
Yes,
Yes.
my
Orgasms.
doctor actually explained this to me before I had surgery when I was thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to have a hysterectomy because if I do, that means I'm never going to enjoy sex again. No, 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 no. And then he told me, listen, female sexuality is very much also in the brain. In fact, that's where it's
absolutely.
at. And once I got that, I was sweet and I thought to myself, it's even better after a hysterectomy. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
We touched on something very quickly, and just because of the nature of what we do, I wanted to talk about Essie's first period and her whole experience around it. And I feel it was a little bit similar to my first period, which really scared me because I hadn't had, and I got my period when I was quite young. I was 10. And had aunties and older, people around me, but nobody had actually told me that this was going to happen. You know what I mean? I think I may have known that during some certain times of the month, like, but at 10 years old, what are you really thinking or what are you really aware of, right? So I
Yeah.
remember sort of bleeding for the first time and similar to Essie, feeling like, oh my God, I'm about to die. I've sinned. This is because I was rude to this person and I did
Oh.
this. I'm being punished. Literally, those were my feelings. Legitimate. I thought I was being punished for all my sins,
Oh, bless you.
and that was similar. So I want us to unpack that and kind of do we feel like we're doing better now? And do kids when they have at 10
I
feel as
think
if
we
they're
are
aware that this is gonna happen to me,
I'd like to think that we're doing better, but I honestly am not sure. After the manhole incident, I don't know.
Oh.
Honestly,
Wait, the
I
manhole
don't know if we're
incident
doing
was
better. But I
recent.
think more people, I
Yeah.
would like to say that
Mm-hmm.
modern parents, especially in the cities, are really doing much better. And I
Mm.
think that those who are not entrenching, and I say this with apologies because I don't know for a fact, but I feel as though the more quote unquote spiritual, some churches are. And by that, what I mean is those who are talking about sukubi and something inhabiting the body and all that. I think that for the most part, it's better in the cities. And that sort of aggravates me at the same time because sometimes the people in the city are not sympathetic. They assume that everything is fine.
Everyone.
And I remember when the Tale of Secrets came out, I was invited by a bunch of female lawyers, wonderful, one of the best book groups I've ever had. And there were about 30 of them. They hosted me in a home in Laboni. And one thing that they did say to me was, to be honest with you, though, I don't know anybody who's ever experienced any of the things that you talk about. I said, well, gee, lucky you. You have no idea it's still going on. Not only that, but I mean,
So disconnected.
yeah, just only about 3 years ago or so, some parents, I've forgotten who, was actually charged with heaven knows what and arrested for putting ginger in their child's butt for disobedience. Yes. And the person
in Ghana.
these people went to court and said, but it's in our culture, that's what we do. So, and then I still remember another girl to reading of Women and Frogs, the first chapter. And when she finished the first 2 chapters, she had tears running down her face. And I asked her,
Aww.
she said, my mom did that to me. And I said, what did you do? She said, I raised my skirt and we had visitors and I flashed boys.
Oh.
6 years old and I didn't know why. And she did it to me without explaining why. So while I think that it's better, and I think it's better in some Dadaba groups, the Adwoa groups and things like that, it's not necessarily better in the village. We
They're
still
so
have
tiny at 6. I can't imagine a 6-year-old doing that intentionally.
And so much 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's the thing.
I
They
thought
use
you
a lot of
No.
fear to
Thanks.
push certain, like as a girl, a lot of girls, especially growing up in rural Ghana, there's a lot of fear around, don't go around men. There's a lot of fear. When rather we should be teaching the men, do not go around little
Don't
girls.
go around the
Like,
children.
so confusing. Like the little girl is always scared that if a man looks at her a certain way, she might get in trouble when she cannot control what this man does. And it's very, very, very annoying. Yeah.
Maybe we should instead be rubbing ginger on the men's penises when we look at little
Exactly.
girls.
I think it's a punishment without for me, I've always had sort of a problem with punishment without the explanation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the swift corporal action, the slap, the this, without like explaining to the child what they did was wrong, so that they can maybe control their behavior, change their behavior.
Learn something.
And
learn something.
Just women alone. It's also something that we do in class, the insulting, the giving somebody a knock without any explanation. The idea that children are like animals and you train them with pain without
exactly like a dog.
And so beyond even this whole female thing, it's something that affects people in general. And this is one of the reasons why somebody will say, oh, a lot of children are stupid. It's not that they are stupid. When it's fear-based and a child is more concerned about whether or not your hand is going to go up, and they are not focused. So in a classroom, when the teacher is teaching, again, the fear-based teaching always causes people not to be able to absorb knowledge. It affects them, the fear. And then it also affects innovation. You're not allowed to be creative. If a parent comes to see you, you cut this up, instead of looking at it and saying, oh my God, this child is creative, might become an engineer or something like that. They're looking at you and they're insulting you, and then there's a whole thou shalt not touch, thou shalt not do this. If a child is handling a stereo, oh my God, she's going to ruin it. Or, that kind of thing keeps us all as a society, as a Ghanaian society, as an African society, it can keep us from growing, from
Yeah.
being creative, from being, I like to think that I benefited because I remember my older siblings complaining that I did not get disciplined the way they were. And I benefited from everybody forgetting about me. I was the number 10 child
Oh.
with, so all these big siblings, they forgot about me, and the focus was always on the big. And I hid in books. I had my nose in a book all the time, and everybody forgot about me. So I was left wild to just explore and have my imagination run wild. But that's not how we raise children normally. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of grown-ups behaving badly, fathers and daughters, a very heavy theme in the book. Nanaja, you have a lot to say.
Sorry, guys, quick time check. We're about an hour into the conversation, just so everybody knows.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that was
Are we
like
going
the
to be
one, I
cut
think
off?
the first one.
No,
No, we're not.
absolutely not.
Okay.
No. So that was one of the first themes I wrote down when I was reading the book, Fathers and Daughters. I have a father. I'm a daughter, so I have some experience there. And just reading the relationship between AC and, is it Papa or Papa? Because I think
Papa.
Papa.
Papa. Okay. Just reading the relationship between them and seeing that this man clearly loves his daughter. There's no question about it. This is a man that loves his daughter, but also a man that does not know how to raise a daughter. But then he was an educated man. He was a headmaster. So I thought that there would have been more empathy, or at least desire to have a conversation with her. But maybe he's also bringing how he was raised into raising her. They barely had conversations outside of school and what she's learning. He's digging through his daughter's things and searching for letters. Like he was just so controlling and not allowing them to express themselves in any way beyond find a husband. And as for his lovely AC, she can go and achieve things as long as she marries at the end. And even then, not so much achievements because the glory is from your husband. And I was just so infuriated by him. And somehow I could see that this is a man that loves his daughter. He just doesn't know how to express it. And maybe also wasn't open to learning, because at least if I can admit that, look, I'm not good at this and I want to get better. How can I get better? But he seemed to think that he had reached the height of how to do this fatherhood thing. Look, I have many children. He didn't never talk to them about their mother and what happened to their mother. I still don't understand the relationship he had with their mother and the one that he had with Auntie. And even the other ladies.
Yes.
It was like, Papa, what is happening? But I could tell that he loved his children.
Yes.
And it was just so much turmoil for me.
You're muted.
I said, did he love his children or one child? Because I didn't, for me, it was so
He loved the
problematic
last
how
two,
he
AC and Kwabena, for
separated.
sure.
Yeah.
He
I
loved
think
the girls too.
The girls, the older girls. I felt
and
that.
he created
did.
rivalry
Totally
between
sense.
them. Like they hated Essie because of how much of a pedestal they
treated her.
put Essie on, because of she's the one who won't mess up. She's the most, so that was very problematic. Kwabena, there wasn't really much on Kwabena, the soul boy.
Last
He
baby.
was just like most boys, he didn't need
Just
raising.
there. He's just
Left to
there.
do what he could do. Yeah, you can do what you
He
want.
just needed to eat and
Yeah.
play and sleep. He didn't have to do chores. He didn't have to
And
do
that right there is the problem, because we feel like we
Problem.
need to raise girls a certain way and just freestyle.
Yeah, so
So
there's a
then
lot
we have
put into raising a girl, teaching her to cook, teaching her to groom herself, teaching her to, I don't know,
attracted
dress
to
herself well,
men.
even in the boarding school, all those things, right? But the boys just need to exist. And so
He just grow like a weed.
why didn't you do anything with him? Because there was nothing he had
I
to
like that.
play and eat.
Yeah, I like that. It was
And he was always actually being held up as a mirror to AC to say, look, why couldn't you be more like your brother who never says anything? He never had to say anything.
No, he's a younger sibling.
Everything
He
was
had nothing
fine.
to play. If he was caught with his pen is looking a little big, they cheered him. Oh, he looked like he's going to go chop somebody. Hey.
Exactly.
So what was there to do with a character like that?
Yeah.
And I saw that in my own home when I was growing up. The men basically, ate, had some chores, I suppose, but the chores were kind of glamorous, washing the car. I don't know.
Watering the
Okay,
garden.
they might iron somebody's
Yeah.
dress, something, but if there's a houseboy who pounds the fufu, they didn't even have to. Or if they're older women who are pounding the fufu, the boys just had to eat. They didn't have to do dishes. Now, in some homes, maybe, but in my home, the boys did not have to do dishes. So, what was there to make about him except be a kind of yeah,
Supporting character.
not a dynamic character who
Yeah.
grows up a whole lot, except that he gets a little more vocal at the end. And
At
plus,
the
he
end,
plays
yeah.
safe all the time. When does he stand up for AC? Never.
Never.
Exactly. Always nodding her head, being the good boy, while his sister is getting grilled
Yeah.
yeah, they are having a meeting, the whole Sanhedrin to determine or not she has a right to have a boyfriend or something. What does he do? He just sits down,
Just
nodding
there.
Yeah.
sympathetically to the adults. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. But to your point, I believe that the father loved all the children.
Mhm.
Parents have a way of assuming that if you love your child, you don't talk. We also have to look at the times. Like I was listening to what Nana was saying, and I was chuckling in my head. Oh, they didn't have conversations. Well, that's not what happened in those days. Parents did not have those type of conversations.
Conversations.
They
Yep.
told you a little about themselves, about what life
Yeah.
was like when they used to walk from this place to that place. When they
Tell
first,
us that
I remember
story.
my father talking to me about the first time he heard a radio speaking. The radio was coming from a tree, and he was carrying water, and he dropped it because he thought there was a witch in the tree
Oh
or
God.
became alive. They tell you those type of stories, how life was hard for them. Yeah, 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 yeah. But feelings, nobody talked about feelings. Feelings
Yeah, that's so
only
true.
if you are crying and somebody asks you, why are you crying? Oh, don't mind them. You want me
Oh
to go
my God.
listen for you? Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
they not have those kinds of conversations that nowadays people are expected, parents are supposed to have with children. That was a different age, a different
Time.
culture.
Yeah.
So people, remember, this is set in the 60s. So people
Mm.
growing up today, 20 something, don't have a clue what life was like then.
It's
Today,
like
and then you've got social media. Today you have an issue, go and Google it. Go and find out. This influencer is talking about this. There's so much going on. But those days, there was not that
that's
kind of
so terrifying to think about. It's like
Yeah.
there
Can
was
you
just
imagine?
nowhere to
Yes,
find. There
Nowhere.
was
It's
no
your
resources
father.
unless it goes to the
yes,
library.
It was her
yes.
father or nobody.
That's
There was
wild.
What you
nobody.
were
There
told.
was nobody.
What you were
And
told.
if you went to talk to some uncle, if you don't take care of your father's friend that you go confide in, next thing you know, you're on your back and he's feeling you
Yep.
up. So
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
can't trust them.
That's yeah.
Okay,
I
to
did
a
I did
little bit
think
of
that he loved his daughters, but he just had in
I
his
saw that
mind,
too.
like,
Yeah.
this is like, you have to go to school, you have to marry, and this is my plan for you. So
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
you, but if you're not following that path, then you have to go. Like, it was a
Exactly.
very,
Was it
yeah.
a
And one of the scenes that hit me the
Abena,
hardest, I actually had to take a
The
break because
Abner.
I did not see it coming, was
Oh,
Abena's trajectory and Abena's story.
Yes.
No spoilers, but when Akwesi came and I read what happened to him, it came out of nowhere.
It did come
I
out of
had
nowhere a
to take
little bit.
a
Yes.
break. It hit me so hard.
It was very
unfortunately,
sad.
I've
also
seen
the
things
choice that
like
she was
that.
given. That was a very cruel choice by a father to give
So
a
cruel.
daughter.
Yes.
Well,
Right?
today, but in those days, that's what parents did. If you got
Yes.
pregnant and you brought shame to the house, you were
Right.
cast off.
So the baby can
So,
stay.
and
Because
you
it was, I
they
thought
would
They
she was
love the
going
baby.
to,
so
I
the
thought she was
father
going to go with
the
her
father
baby.
was actually being kind. I'm not going to kick you up, but I can't support both of you. So
Choose one. But also, as a
and
mother, you
there was
choose.
no way my father would have accepted the choice if she had said, I'm staying and I'm taking the baby. You taking the baby where?
Where?
I would have said, I
Naming
thought she
you
was going to
go.
take the baby. I was like, well, then both of us are going.
No, but
So
she couldn't.
Yeah,
She
I
didn't
thought
have a
she would take him
job.
away.
Where was she? You think realistically,
Anyway,
she
she doesn't
didn't
have any way of
feed this
taking care of
child.
him.
She didn't know
Yeah.
where she was going to sleep, but she knew that if the child stayed, he would
Yeah.
be fed.
I can
He
take
would
care of
like, it
myself.
was a
And
very
Papa
And
loved
don't
motherly,
forget the
loving.
father
Papa
liked the
actually loved
child.
that for you.
Exactly.
The father, for whatever,
Everywhere,
no
yes.
matter what, liked the child.
They
So
always like the
the
kid.
father was more upset when the child died.
They always like the
Abena went
grandkids.
He was a good grandfather.
Abena went through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a very sad thing when you think of, I kind of think of the Teller of Secrets the same way that people think in the Western world when they are reading stories set in the time of Jane Austen or Dickens and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the world that they inhabited is very different
Different.
from the world that you guys are inhabiting today. So you really have inherited a much more open world where people talk. You can actually go to your parents and say, "Yeah, I have a problem with this and yada da da
I don't
da."
like this.
Yes. But those days, next thing you know, if you don't take care, somebody will backhand you, and I don't care how old you are, send you reeling.
Hey.
Or ginger in your bottles.
Yep.
Oh,
That one.
no, that one day, if I'm too old, you won't catch me.
Yes. That's why they didn't do it to older kids.
Older, yeah, because you
True.
run away.
Younger
You didn't
kids.
catch them?
Run away.
No, you're not doing it to any older kids. No, they will run away. They won't sit there. You need 10 men to hold somebody down.
Oh, that's
Ah,
cool.
That's funny. I think Naja, you wanted to talk about police stop and search as well. Because
Yes, yes.
and Kwabena
Nothing has changed.
Like, I think because I think this one I was thinking from the perspective of the law. And
Yeah.
yes, the police are allowed if they have reasonable reason to believe, or like they don't have to prove it, just has to be reasonable suspicion. They can ask to search your things. So I thought I understand AC, and honestly, fight the power anytime. But it's like she had just let the man search her things. But again, to your point, BC, it's a different time, and we're used to the police just consistently bribing people and just taking from people. So it was like, I'm not going to fall to this, knowing what's in her bag, knowing that all her school shopping and things is in the bag. She can't allow someone to open it and start to say, if you don't bring money, I'll give you this. But I feel like that could have really escalated if she hadn't been
I
careful.
was a little bit afraid for her.
Yes.
And I think the
Those
shock
days,
factor was
I'm
also a
telling
thing.
you, yeah, life was hard. People were counting things. People used to get up early in the morning to line up for Genki. And people could not get, I mean, for instance, things like soap, those who worked for what was it, Unilever or something?
Unilever or Liver
Or
Brothers.
GNTC, Ghana National Trading Corporation. They
GNTC.
had their favorites, and you needed to have it in with to be in on the inside to get things to buy to go and sell. So there were shortages, and so people in power were bullies. And no, I'm not saying that AC was right, because you could have gone anyway. I mean, people were abusive, but that is really what life was like. So she had her tail already in the air, ready to fight you because she was convinced that you were going to cheat. And I have to say that particular thing was based on my own experience. I had an experience.
Right.
So I'm actually quite notorious for that, in the sense that if you try to bully me at the airport, I will not let you. Not only recently, as a matter of fact, it was 2023. I remember arriving at the airport, and I was in Kotoka here, and I was exhausted, and I'd gone through customs, everything. And I was just leaving the airport, and two men barred me and said to me that they would not let me pass if I did not smile at them. Am I a monkey to entertain people? Nobody does that to men and say, "Oh,
You make
smile."
mostly girls.
Smile at
Hey,
me.
why
Are you
don't you smile?
serious?
I was in no mood to smile. I was exhausted. I was super, 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 super tired, irritable. And these two people, they actually held hands and said, "If you
And the
don't,"
thing is, they think they're being funny, they're being cute, they're flirting with me. If I
Yeah.
slap,
I told them, "You better step aside if you don't," and I actually considered seriously doing some kind of kicking or something. And they did stand aside. But I remember the indignity of it. Who asked the man to
yeah.
smile? Am I a monkey? Am I to entertain you that I should grin?
Yes.
So there is
Actually,
that kind of abuse. I think we still have a lot of that in everywhere in the world. You have abuse of power, but there's a certain level to which it's degrading
Yeah.
and it still
yeah.
goes on. And somebody basically, hey, what did you bring me? And what the person is really saying is, you better give me something or else I'm not letting you. And I always
Yeah.
stand there and I go,
Difficult.
I didn't bring you anything. Oh, I get this here, East Legon. One time, getting stopped and somebody asking me for water for his throat. I actually took that very literally, and I was looking around. I said, I'm very sorry, I don't have any water. And she said, no, I need money to go drink. It's a
To buy
Friday.
the what?
I said, no,
What
I
does
will
that
give
have to do
you
with
money.
me?
I should
I
give
would have
you
been that little, oh, here's a bottle.
no. So I told him, no, actually, I also need water for my throat. So maybe if you give me money, I'll go get myself a drink.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. All right, let's quickly talk about the characters and why Ambassador Hotel is a character in this book. And I
Oh,
Ambassador Hotel as a Movenpick, right?
yes, I think more than the movie. Ambassador
Oh,
Hotel
I
is
didn't
the whole last
include.
character in this book.
Like
Did
Bisi
not
Adjapon
include.
shares in Ambassador Hotel.
Okay.
You're
Because I'm like,
marketing
when
for
did they
them
go there? But now I remember when they went there on their Accra trip, right?
consistently
In the beginning and then in the end too. Actually,
in
from
the
the
end.
police stop, they were
In the
heading towards
beginning.
Ambassador Hotel. Yes,
Mm,
And then on the Accra trip, they went to Ambassador Hotel.
Ambassador
And then,
Hotel with Hotel Woman.
it was
no,
so
no, no, but
nostalgic
that's a
for
different
me.
hotel. That's
Oh, sorry. Yes,
that's
yes, yes,
men's
yes.
Chrome. There was men's Chrome
Men's
Hotel.
Chrome
Yes,
Hotel
men's
and then
Chrome.
Men's Chrome
oh, that
Ambassador
Hotel
was the
is
Hotel.
where
beginning.
the
Yes.
action took place.
That's the
Yes.
beginning.
Chrome Hotel was
Okay.
where Hotel Woman was. And then at the end, we went back to men's Chrome Hotel.
So Ambassador was
Ah,
only when
Ambassador
it was
Hotel.
the
Ambassador was only for
family.
lunch.
That was the
Yeah.
Accra trip. On the
Yeah,
Accra
where they
trip.
couldn't
Men's
eat the
Chrome
But it's
steak.
Hotel was
modern day
where all the.
Movenpick.
By the way, Men's Chrome Hotel still exists,
Oh,
so I
does
think I've
it?
seen
Really?
the sign.
Yes,
Yeah, is it easily gone?
in 2029. No, it's on the outskirts. It's like you go past McCarthy Hill. It's like you're going out
Really?
of
Where
Accra.
I
Oh.
know
Yeah,
it. Okay, maybe
it's
I've
on
seen
the
it.
right hand. And they actually there was a wedding. And well, somebody who may or may not have been hotel woman was her
Is this breaking
daughter
news?
was having a wedding, and we went there, and I remember thinking, oh my God, it hasn't changed. There is the place.
No, but
Okay,
in
Wow.
Bisi,
terms
now I
of how
have
you
to ask.
describe it
I
with the
have
little
to ask.
chalets and the huts, you said like they're arranged in a
Yep,
circular, it's the
yep,
same
yep,
thing.
it's still
Wow.
there.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's still there. I knew that hotel very well.
Was
So,
this wedding 2 years ago?
no, the
But the
wedding
book
was
is oh.
the
But who are
wedding
you
was
thinking?
No,
the
I'm
wedding
doing
was, I
some.
think, in 2019. 2019 or
Okay, so no,
2018.
that's
I
right.
remember I had
Okay.
just come back from America and I was told there was a wedding, so I went. So it's a long ride. You go past Bowie and I almost missed it. And I say, hey, this thing is still existing. The signboard
So
is
now,
still
so I feel like Bisi, now I have to ask, how autobiographical is
Thank you.
Tell Us
Is
Secret?
this book?
so actually, it's not. However, I'll tell you
Mhm.
something that is autobiographical is the geography. Because I'm a very
Right.
visual person. So everywhere I describe is a place that I have been
You've
before.
been, right.
So I liked when I write as though there's a movie going on in my head and I want you to
Mhm.
see the movie. So it helps if I know the places. So for
Mm.
instance, I did live in Chebi, Kibi.
Mhm.
That place I did live there. It's one of my favorite places in the whole world. I love them
Nice.
very much. I attended Wesley Girls. So the girl
Mhm.
also attended Wesley
Because
Girls.
that will felt so real.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
it did. It
everything
felt
I
so
described are things that I have seen before. Now and hotel woman is a different thing because there was a hotel woman, but it was not my father's hotel woman.
It was
It's
somebody else.
hotel woman, and I knew the story, and I thought, I'm gonna use this
going
story.
Slip it in
Back
there.
That
in-
woman.
I used it, and I'm still very friendly with them, and I shall not divulge anymore. But no, however, there is a character that is real. I did not make her up. I actually took an aunt of mine, Auntie Biggie, and that's because
Oh,
Auntie Biggie died, and I wanted to honor her, so I put her in my.
no. That's so
Auntie
nice.
Biggie is somebody that I loved very much, and she was very real. So Auntie Biggie was real. Another person that was real is Miss Garnett. She was a very
Yes. So
she
that's
was
one of the ones that were real to me.
wonderful principal, and so I wanted to honor her, and I put her in
That's
the book.
nice.
So
That's
yeah,
nice.
so those were real, and then the period that was autobiographical. That was me.
Right.
I will say there
First
was a part
period.
you wrote and about, hang on, I bookmarked it. Something about the radio goes silent. We wait in clusters, biting our nails. A different voice pants out of the radio. This is general. Everything is under control. I didn't catch it.
The coup,
As
right?
the
Rawlings. Oh no,
Rawlings,
Issy.
and then is it
Rawlings.
happening? Is it not happening? I did not know this. This
Oh,
should
I
be a
knew that one.
This one I actually literally researched, and you know and let me back up by saying something. One of the things that when I wrote the of Women and Frogs, initially there were no politics in it. And then the American editor there was somebody who wanted to buy it from Simon and Schuster, oh no, from Scribner. And she said to me, I hate to say this, but if you put in a little bit of politics, it will raise the value of the book because people don't, when it comes to African stories, they don't want to hear anything about. And I was very resentful because I thought to myself, Africans are just like anybody. And I don't really like this whole
Exactly.
generalization of Africa because Africa is so very, even within Ghana, we are not one homogeneous group. So I was really upset and I thought, why somebody can just write a book called Eat, Pray, Love, where the girl just travels and does this. Yeah, you can't write that about Ghanaian. Why is it that when it comes to Africa, the book has to be
It has to be
really
heavy.
significant, has to have political this thing. So I was annoyed and I was refusing to do it. Well, when she said that, and I talked to a friend, and a friend said, I hate to say it, but it's right. I said to myself, okay. So then I started to research women and the revolution. And I was, the whole market
The
thing,
Mapala woman.
I never experienced anything of the sort, but I read about it and I was horrified. And that's when I started to research and I thought, there is a way to make this work. Find an angle where women are influenced. So if the girl is in school, and then I read about the revolution, I read everything. I read the BBC account of how what do you call it, the firing squad when the people were killed, how it took place and all that. And I thought, oh wow. So then I started to weave inside, and then I started to talk to those who experienced it firsthand and that kind of thing, and I got all that info, and I thought, oh wow. So then I thought, okay, gradually, all right, okay, it'll work. So, and now
That
I'm
was a
good.
good
You did
decision.
it well.
That
It was
was
a
a good
good
decision.
backdrop to Essie's story, really. I enjoyed
Really,
about the times and the change in government, and
Yep.
that was a tough time to be alive in Ghana.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Essie as a character, though, did you enjoy her, or what are
Oh,
what
I
are
love it.
about Essie as a
Essie was
character?
my alter ego because when I was a child, I was very shy. I was not at all. I was very, very shy, but I had similar questions running through my head, but I could not ask them. So I made AC the kind of girl that I wish I had been when I was growing up. I enjoyed it.
Nice.
I had so much fun thinking I'm going to create this sassy character who does this, who gets into trouble. Not perfect, but so I enjoyed doing that very much. Um, what else? I can't really think of anything else
I
that.
feel
So
like
those were the autobiographical elements that were in it, and which I enjoyed bringing out.
Essie's character at times irritated me, which
Yes, of course
characters
it
that
will.
irritate
Modern
me.
girl like
Yeah.
you, who is so full of your rights and what else, because she's going to irritate you.
Exactly. Thank you. You understand. So girls, like, because she questions authority, like questions everything. She always has a comeback. Like, why is it done like this? Like, she's very bold. She's sassy. You can't, she stands up to her father, like the oldest daughter, like the only one who can tell her father something. You know what I mean? And so for me, every time a character irritates me in this way, it's just like it's a reflection of something that I see within myself. And it's like maybe something I don't accept or something I still haven't quite grappled with. And so, you recognize something and then it irritates you. So that's how I felt about Essie. But in general, I did like her. And what made me, there's this one sentence in the book which made me a little bit sad for her, because it says, a child howls and protests every indignity, but as she grows, her voice hushes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to retain the strength in my own voice. And so, you know, I thought a little bit about that. It's like, you know, you have this raw, sort of unfiltered approach to life as a child. Is it really true that as you grow, because I remember being told growing up that like every time I protested, especially when it was related to like a feminist thought that I would have, well, why do I have to, I'm never going to be married. Why do I have to have children? Like, or why do I have to wash dishes? And this, like, I would have those kind of, it's like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Wait till you grow up. You know, like you're just a child, like when you grow up. It's so that sentence just stuck out at me, because it's just like, is it true then that you have all these ideals and all this whatever, and then as you grow up, society kind of beats it out of you, or tames your spirit in this way, or makes you conform or tone down who you are, you know, because of
Takes away
certain.
It is true. I have seen it so many times. It is true. And I think the question now is, how do we nurture the flame? How do we do it so that you don't lose that voice? Because I've seen it happen so many times. I still remember a girl that I admired so much. Oh my God, she had star quality. She was at the University of Ghana, living there. She was a cousin to a friend, and she was like this light. You know, when you have a street light that attracts all these insects, that's the way she was. And when I heard she was in the United States, I was so excited. I went to visit her and I was shocked.
Oh,
Voice gone. She was in a marriage where she's controlled, and the thing is still in her, but she's changed the way she expresses. She's not the same person. It was very painful, and I see that a lot. And I think I see that less in the younger generation, and it's a beautiful thing to behold. But unfortunately, for people growing up in the 70s and even the 60s, and especially beyond, even older than that, that is exactly what happens. And I was expressing, those were my thoughts that I was expressing. And I think that is where you will see some of my own beliefs come out through some of the things that AC says. And that is what I was thinking, that's what happens. A child, I remember there was a young man that I knew, and in America, African-American boy. He was so creative, just an amazing young man. And every day his stories would just come out. He just was a storyteller and so creative, and the parents allowed it. And then as he got older and older, they started to head him in.
Oh,
Lost all that. Today he can't tell a story. He
Yeah,
lost all
it's
that.
yeah, something that struck at me, because I think when you have out of the box opinions as a child, people always chalk it up to, or those who don't want to listen or hear you say, it's because you haven't experienced life. You don't really know what you're talking about. I mean, this is hopefully nobody's doing to a child, because children honestly know so much more than, like, they have that, I don't know what it is, like that spirit to see things for what they are, right? And so they know a lot more, or are able to say a lot more than adults sometimes. And so anyways, but I think generally I love the SC character. I don't know who was another. Do we want to do favorites, or do you want to do most hated? Like, who did we hate?
Favorite is, for me, is Kaede. Favorite is
Kaede,
Kaede.
I like
And
Kaede.
worst was who?
Worst.
I think it was actually I forget his name, the actor husband.
Oh, Rudolph.
Oh, Rudolph.
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 I didn't like him, but I don't know that he mustered hate.
Character. Rudolph.
No, but Rudolph is a very
Your
strange,
favorite character.
slimy. He's a slimy character,
He's
because
a slimy.
I feel like you
but
should like him, but he does things that are very, like, you know
He's
what
a
I mean?
fake nice boy.
What?
Yes,
Okay,
He's a
what is
very
it?
nice boy who
He
thinks he should
uses his
win.
niceness to control.
Yeah.
Fake nice.
Oh,
But
I'm shivering.
he was actually quite abusive.
Yes.
Yes, very abusive. And if
Who
Izzy
you
had been a
really
different
know what he
person,
put
she would have
through.
stayed married to him.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is
The
why
number of I love this, by the way.
oh, by
I
the
just
way,
remembered Okay, go
Sorry,
on, go for it.
Adwoa. Oh,
No, I was just going to say sorry, and I apologize. I get so excited I start talking over you.
I love that.
But recently, I had a young man read the book. And he came to me furious. He said, "Oh, I liked AC until she did it. She cheated on Coyote." And I said, "You see, of all the things you picked at, that's the only thing
That's what you
that
picked?
you did not get offended at the treatment she received. You did not get offended at what
no.
happened when she was 11 years old. You did not get offended at anything, at hot
all the
water.
abortions.
But you get offended because for the first time, actually gave herself permission to enjoy sex with somebody that was not the one who was going to keep knocking her out without any, 1, 2, 3, right? I mean,
That is a bit embarrassing.
that is what upset you. And I get so frustrated. There's some men a lot of my men who love her, but even that, and I still remember I canceled an interview. I was supposed to do an interview with somebody, and I was actually in Senegal, and this person called me to do it virtually and
Virtually.
told me how AC was a bad girl, AC was provocative, AC was not innocent. And I got so angry. I said, "You are a miscreant. And you know what? I will not do this interview with you." I canceled the interview, and I had to tell the managing director, and she ended up interviewing me, and we had a wonderful interview. You can look up the interview. It's Africa in Dialogue. It came out beautifully, but that man was horrible. And
Yeah.
again, so you get that, and I feel as if even today I'm constantly fighting for my voice. In whether it be in tennis clubs and whatnot, I'm constantly therefore I see.
I actually like that Izzy cheated on Rudolph. I like that
yeah.
because
Yeah.
she didn't
Wow.
enjoy sex. So I like that
Please, I
she
made
was
that happen.
reminded
Yes,
of what sex should feel like. This is how you should
exactly.
feel like when you're
Wait, was he not a good lover, Rudolph?
No,
wasn't.
remember
No.
he
Forgot
did
it,
not.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Oh, BC,
He was
BC,
mad
I'm
that they had
pouring
He was
it,
sex.
you
Very
know.
passionate with
embarrassing
him.
for him.
Oh,
I was
BC, I'm pouring
embarrassed.
it, you know.
I'm
It's
pouring it.
wondering why she was still with him that long when she was clearly not orgasming every
She
single
didn't
time.
like him.
Then you're constantly like, oh no,
and
constantly having.
accusing her of being a bad girl because she wanted to have an orgasm.
It's just wild. It was just wild. I was like,
It
why
was,
are
And
you
it's
with
just
yeah.
like
him?
So I was
Like,
happy when she
Rudolph was
slapped
a
her
hard
mind on
head.
her too.
Yes,
many
because
abortions
she
did she
reminded
have
her
for
of
him?
what sex should be like.
3,
So
I
How many
think.
abortions did she have for him? I feel
3,
like I
Oh, 3.
read 3. Is it
Yeah.
3?
Yeah,
I
I
think
remember
so.
3.
Oh my
Which is
God.
And
another
by
thing
the
that
way,
she
on that
doesn't.
subject, let me tell you, I have talked to many women, and these are women in power, women in politics, women who hold positions that would surprise you. Women, people assume that, oh, they're there, so they're independent and whatnot. You'd be surprised what secret shame they
Yeah.
I had a filmmaker call me and sobbing after reading this. I had one person, I can't mention, but a very high person in government calling me and telling me I had 15 abortions for a man who would not let me have use contraception. And I've had them come.
Impossible?
Yes, I had a woman fly from the UK call me to come and meet me here in Ghana to weep and give me money for bringing out things that she could not say and for sharing all these secret shames. And these are all powerful.
Aw.
So don't be fooled. Women may be powerful, but you don't know what secret shame people are carrying.
Exactly.
There are people who go home to abuse, but then they hide it. And on the outside, they have it all together. I've had, even as recently as 6 months ago, somebody call me. And this is somebody that I would never have thought. So this book has really shown me when I was writing, I had no idea I was telling the story of so many
So many women.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
many women.
And also
And
the shame of if you go and get pregnant out of wedlock, that's a problem. The church will shame you. So let me go and get an abortion. Like there's so many nuances around you. One, you should not be having sex, but guys can have sex because there's no tell. But then a
And
woman
whose
will get
child should
pregnant.
be the guinea pig while we're at it?
Exactly. Who are they sleeping with? They're sleeping with women. It's just always stressful to me. I've fought with my dad about this whole the church will excommunicate you for getting pregnant. I'm like, do you know that you're just going to let a lot of girls go and get like abortions because they think, okay, that's better than everybody shaming me. It's
And
Yeah.
that's even a bigger.
Yeah.
And
I
how about
was
the attitude
born
towards
again.
contraceptions?
Pardon?
Do you think the attitude towards contraception? Because Essie tried to take agency and she did go to a
Exactly.
clinic. She did
And
want
so
to
shame.
But
what
they
is it,
shame
IUD?
you.
And
And
they
you know
shamed
what I
him.
got?
something I
I was
wrote
like,
about.
goodness,
That's
shamed
something I
him.
wrote down. So for my thesis,
Thank you.
one of the
Okay.
things I did was go into pharmacies. Like I did my thesis on sexual reproductive health needs of the youth. And the kids were like, if I go to the pharmacy, they'll say that they'll look at me funny.
bad girl.
They'll say they'll not give me, yeah, I'm a bad girl, I cannot buy condom. I'm a bad the boys were actually slightly better, but even they had those issues. Or like you go to a pharmacy and then it's somebody from your church, or they'll go and tell your mother. And I was like, but they're supposed to be protecting you by giving you these things. They just can't get access to it. Even if they go to places where it's known that you can get contraceptives, they feel very stigmatized, so they're just not going to get it.
Wow.
In
As a
fact,
child, I think there should be a policy. If a child comes in or a teenager comes in to buy contraceptive, we should all clap for them. They're practicing
Yeah.
safe.
Or just let them have it and go.
The maturity that takes.
Protecting
think-
yourself.
Yeah, the
Protecting
maturity that
agency.
takes, right? So in some way, the system failed Essie, I think, because she was going to secretly protect herself, but she couldn't even get that done.
Couldn't even
And
get that.
she couldn't
Yeah.
even get
by the
that. That
way,
made me
that
very sad.
scene, I got that scene from a doctor who told me this. Was so sad. A male doctor who told me about women, female nurses shaming girls.
Oh,
That
yes.
it was a male doctor that shared this
Ah.
with me. And he said he had to sometimes, he would overhear them shouting and he would have to come out and help the girls. So again, and remember what AC says at some point, women
She
up
does.
we
Yes.
male allies helping, and then we have
Yes.
females actually pulling you down. And
Yes.
like he
Exactly.
said, go to when they were busily binding feet, who were doing the binding?
Yes.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
women.
Good
It wasn't
Who
point.
are the
women.
people doing the ginger?
Who's putting the
The
ginger
men
hair?
are the ones.
Yes.
The woman.
Yeah.
Even
Who's
the
cutting
female
the
genital
jigsaw? Grandmothers.
mutilation.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Who is cutting the clitoris? Have you ever seen
not
a man
the
do
woman.
it? It's the
The
women.
women, oh my goodness. Yes.
Women
That's a
are holding
good
the
point, Bisi.
patriarchy with
I
their
remember.
bare hands.
Holding it.
Holding
It's
it
built
down.
on their backs.
Sad.
The men just
Let
put the
go.
rules in place, and women are sort of brought up to just perpetuate
Enforces.
that and to uphold that structure. You know, it doesn't exist without our help, and yet we can't extricate ourselves from it. You
And
know,
it's the women. Sometimes I even wonder, it's almost as if they look at you and they think, well, if I suffered, you can't get away
You
with
must
it.
as well.
Yes.
is that envy? Is it jealousy? It's
Almost,
something there.
exactly. Almost.
If I
It's
had to
like
go
when-
through it,
Because
if I had to conform, you must as well.
yeah.
Like when all these
I think
Ghanaian
the
aunties
way
are like,
my dad had, I'm also a daughter, an only daughter of a man who was, I would describe as a helicopter parent, very much involved in my life to the point where I was an only daughter for about 8 years before my brother was born. And my dad, I tell people that when you're young and your parents tell you they'll die for you, I actually believed my dad.
oh,
I believed that my dad would, because he would tell me all the time that like I would actually die for you. That's how much I love you. And I genuinely believed it. I don't think he would now. But
Hey, right now you're too good.
Life
You're
is too
talking
sweet.
back. You were
Right.
cute.
But even then, when he was so protective, even when I was in university, I wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend and everything. I would be so, and he would tell me all of the like very helicopter parents. He told me one time, the first time I think I went to uni, or one of the vacations, he said to me, I know like that there are lots of things I tell you about sex, don't have sex, like all of the things. However, if you do get pregnant, just come home. You'll be fine. And
at that.
I know,
That's wonderful.
sweet.
yes.
My mom said the same
And
thing to all of us, me and my sisters.
it has
Like,
always been
if
in
you
my
get
head.
pregnant,
And
bring me my child.
yeah,
Oh, good.
he said,
That's
you
so,
know,
I mean, that's so reassuring, isn't it?
Yeah.
I never
Because
like
then
I
you
don't
know you can
yeah.
go somewhere.
Like you don't
That's
want to, but you don't because
But
that's
at
I
least you
think
know you have a fallback.
for
yes.
girls, that's our biggest fear. Growing up is always just like you can do anything. Don't get
don't bring
pregnant. You know
pregnancy
what I
home.
mean?
It was just, yeah, it's
And so to feel like even the biggest, you do the biggest wrong, you can still come home. That's very reassuring.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's the
Because
best gift.
yeah, you have to understand as a parent that you lose your child if
Yes.
you're doing
If that
you and
happens,
like
yeah.
and Papa lost Abena, sister Abena.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Lost
And
not just
eventually
Abena, but he
also,
lost his grandchild
you
too.
lost your
Lost
yeah,
grandchild
Atusi
as
as
well.
well.
Yeah,
So
having
sad.
that strict rule.
Guys,
Anyway, good book though. There's so much
right?
excellent
So
book,
much
so
to
much to
talk
talk
about.
about.
So much. Oh my goodness.
interesting characters, so
So
much
many great things to talk
history,
about.
Yeah.
so much so much
And
commentary
thank
on
you
like
for also thank you for also getting the streams of consciousness, because this was not a normal story with a narrative arc that started at the beginning and ends, but these are supposed to be with the streams of consciousness. The plot is actually mostly internal,
Yeah.
so you're seeing it's not internal, it's external, but you're seeing snapshots.
yeah.
And
Yeah. One of the things I loved about your writing is AC started off, because it was the first person POV. She started off very naive, very to me, even like
Childlike.
it sounded childish and childlike, more childlike
what
than
was
her
that?
actual age of 9.
She
Okay.
was,
And then all through her, because we are seeing the world through her, and she's describing the world, she's describing all of these people. I see her absorb what her father tells her and what society tells her, then eventually shedding all of these things off and then finding her voice.
yes,
And
that was the whole idea.
eventually, I was just so happy she made the decision she made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Low-key, I was digging Kayode a little bit. I was like, you know what? How romantic will it be? I'm sure Adwoa is swooning.
no,
I
right?
was
He wanted
swooning.
them
I
to
was
get
swooning.
Thought
together.
that
about
would
it.
have been a good. I would have liked that too. He was
Yeah,
very
I thought about it, but it just looked like, I just thought to myself, no, I'm not going to give it a neat ending, because life
It's not necessarily neat.
No. And also I wanted to open it to a
I think
sequel.
they'll find themselves
They found their way
together.
back to each other.
We're given
He's getting married.
what are the
Are you
people
killing his
in
wife off already?
Nanaja? I don't remember the characters in Americana. Didn't the guy go and leave his wife when the girl
Oh,
came
That was
back?
such an Olivia and Fitz thing. He was cheating on his wife.
True. So you never know.
Perhaps, Bisi,
Okay,
we
they
can
have
write
found
a
happy ever
romance.
after.
No, but I
What
do
is
like
it?
that
A
ending.
mature romance.
Yeah, I think so.
Trans
I like that.
romance.
I like the ending because
Kayode and Bisi.
it's
So
like
I
actions
have
of
a
your
third book.
consequences.
So while we are at it, I have a third book that it will be coming out in
Woohoo!
October.
Oh,
We have not pushed it yet. This one is very different, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm the type of writer, it's hard to kind of put me in a box, because I write whatever I feel like writing at the time. And this one is interesting because it is set in the 19th century, but
Okay.
there's memorable characters and some, historical characters as well. But it's my choice to write like that, and I've enjoyed it, and I'm so excited about it. I don't think I've been as excited about a book as I am with this one. So I'm so excited. It's coming out in October.
What's the
I'll tell you more
title?
about.
You
I'm not
teasing it?
telling you, right?
No? Okay.
But
Yes.
the title
Breaking news. You heard it
is
here first.
it's I'm not telling you. I'll announce it, but I'm very excited
When
about
we go off live, maybe you can give us a sneak peek.
Got almost
Yeah.
got to.
but let's say that it's interesting. I love it very much. It got a little bit of magic realism also.
Oh, I
So
love magical realism.
yeah,
Love it.
yes, a bit of magic realism. So it's coming, and I'm very excited about it. After that, my next project is the sequel to AC's story. So
Oh, to AC's story. Oh,
Okay,
wow.
I need to know.
This
Is Kayode
Again.
divorced?
I'm rooting for
Yes.
Kayode.
yes.
His wife did.
He
His
continues
wife
to
is
develop.
gonna meet the
We'll
Lord
see
early.
Kayode again.
She can
I
go
don't
meet the Lord
know.
a little
See.
earlier than planned. The
And
Kayode's wife can
hopefully
go.
they are much older, because I
Oh,
think they're too
unfortunately.
young. Yeah, to get married.
So
Yeah.
sorry.
So sorry, she had to go and meet the Lord. Essie's back, so.
Meet the Lord.
Oh, but I
Skill
just
for
remember the
to-
character that I loved was her friend in Senegal. Her
Yes,
Sally.
her mixed friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the African American girl.
I like her.
Sally will make a return at
Great.
some.
Oh, I'd like to read about Sally.
When she was
Sally
British,
is
yeah.
a feminist. Sally is a girl's girl. I
Sally's a
love a girl's
feminist.
girl.
Bisi, I want to
like,
ask
and she
you
loved
about,
to pull out some of her like thoughts about her dad, her Rudolph, what's his name, right? The
Rudolph,
house
yeah.
dad, all of
Husband,
that.
Sedeo.
Yeah, all of those things. So I enjoyed that. Yeah.
yeah. Bisi, I want to ask you about your writing style. Like when you have a concept or an idea, like because you talk about a stream of consciousness. And so I kind of, I think we talk about those who do outlines and then they write. Are you just typing? What author is it that just types their entire novel? It's like a horror writer, Stephen King, I think it was. So like when you have a concept and you sit on your computer, or are you handwriting this? I don't know what you do, or typewriter, I
The
don't know.
daughter in Excel actually hand wrote first, and then
Oh,
I
wow.
transferred. But
Handwrote.
that's because I didn't have a computer, and I was just writing.
Fair.
But I tend to with AC story, for instance. Usually, what I do is I start off my writing with a title, and then I also start off with an idea. I know how the story is beginning and how it's going to end, and I have a big narrative arc in my head. So with Essie's story, like I said, I was just having fun. I was just writing and writing and writing, and I knew I wanted I wanted elementary school, I wanted secondary school, I wanted college, I wanted men, and I wanted this type of ending,
Okay.
With Daughter in Exile, it was different because I had a narrative arc in my head, and I followed and I wrote it. Fine. This third one is different because it's historical. And I think I told you
Ooh,
every time I write, the geography at least is autobiographical because and autobiographical only in terms of my having actually experienced those places before.
those places.
It's different. I wasn't
Yeah, 19th century.
19th century, and I can't go visit those places, and you go and visit it, and it's completely different from
Yeah.
I mean, I remember going to visit somebody's house and I thought, but that can't possibly be the place. It's now completely different. So I had to use a lot of my imagination. But the worst part for me was I needed to have the historical facts. What actually did happen? And then having found out the facts, well, I had to read, I'm telling you, I read a total of 8 books before even collected the
Background research, right?
8, yeah, a lot of research. And one book was about 800 pages long. I
Wow.
started writing this in 2020. It's taking me 5 years. It took me 3 years to actually, it was like putting together a puzzle. I'll get a little from this book, a little from that book, but what made this happen? Oh, then this book says this, and I have to now sit down and knit the whole story together. Who are the characters? Who are the main characters? And I think the hardest thing for me was discovering that we did not know enough and we didn't have enough history books written. And it wasn't until I read one particular book that pulled it together that I thought, oh, I see. So now I understand. I needed to understand the motivations of the different characters and then to be able to now weave them together. Then, only then could I let my imagination run wild. So I found that very difficult to write because I've always been somebody who is into family, into relationships. I've always been interested in how we connect as a society, the way we influence people. I'm very, very interested in children in particular. I've had a passion for kids. I've worked with kids. My theater group was with children. I just love working with kids. And so this was very different for me. And I thought, oh my God, no, what have I gotten myself into? And I almost quit. And now that I didn't quit, it's become for me the work that I'm most proud of. I put so much into it to really make characters come alive and make you read and learn at the same time. And then you don't even realize
that you're learning.
how much work went into making this so easy for you to actually read a novel and enjoy it. So
I always say whenever a writer does their research, I can tell. And I love it. I can tell. I just can tell. And I really love it. And one of my favorite authors. does that all the time. I learn something new anytime I read her book, and you can just tell the work that went into researching, and sometimes it's just a sentence in the entire book, and you know that this must have taken like 3 books just to get this sentence.
Get that. Exactly.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh my God, Jessie, something you just said loops me back to something Elise started in this book club, which is something new that you learned, or the one thing.
Oh yeah, the one
okay.
thing. What was that? What do we say?
What was that? What was that?
What was
Oh my
what's
God. So we've
the
been
one
here for
thing?
almost 2 hours. So
Oh
We're
my
wrapping
God.
up. Yes,
This
we're
is the
wrapping
final
up.
This
bit.
is one of our longer
Let's wrap
discussions.
this up. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Okay,
this
What's
is-
go
the
for it.
one thing that you'll take with you from this book, like on for the rest of your life? Something along the lines of that. Can't remember the exact
Oh
word.
yes. Remember
Yes.
that thing we
Like-
had?
Yes.
One real life lesson I think you've learned from the book.
From this book that will always
something
be.
you'll take
Tipora,
from
do you
the
want-
book into the
Yeah,
rest of
do you
your
want to
life.
go first?
Who?
Who?
Me?
You Tipora, yeah.
No, I
Who
don't
wants to go
I have to
first?
think about
I
it.
can go first. I think honestly,
Sure.
just the we as women growing up, having kids, all of that, we need to be the perpetrators of voice, like making sure that the younger generation, there's no secrecy, there's no shame in sexuality. They can have sex and have pleasurable sex, safe sex, as long as they're doing it the right way. And they can't if they're not, if they don't have the information. So let's be the ones that provide the information. So that's what I'm taking away from this book.
I think I'm gonna go next. One thing I'm taking from the book from AC is to never let my voice be silenced.
Yeah.
And we've talked about how easy it is for you to start one way and then life and all of the like occurrences can shut you down. But I think it's so important, and that's what I'm teaching my daughters, that to never let your voice be silenced. Like Viola Davis said something recently on the social media that she likes bad children. And I know she doesn't mean it in a bad sense, but in the sense that what society considers bad is just outspoken, it's assertive, it's confident, it's bold. I want to be that and continue to be that and just be loud and proud and not let my voice be silenced, like you see.
Yeah.
Love that. I love that.
Jess, you want to
Who's
go,
next?
or have you thought of something?
Also, be selfish. I wish AC were a bit more selfish, especially when it came to Rudolph. I wish that like Rudolph didn't want to wear a condom and didn't want to, I think that she gave too much of herself to Rudolph, who didn't value her as much. And I felt Essie's a kind woman. She's a kind girl. You could see that in her relationship with her sisters. Even after everything that she went through, the letter writing is heavily featured here, and I love that.
I love it.
Yes. And in the last letter her sister wrote to her and how she felt about it, she gives herself, and she did that with Rudolph. And I felt that just be a little bit selfish and think about yourself. If he doesn't want to wear rubber, close your legs. Like you make yourself more orgasm.
Yeah, you got it.
Love it.
Go out into the rain without a raincoat.
Yeah. I think my point builds on that. And I was going to say, make decisions for yourself. And I say that in specific reference to her relationship with, what was his name? Yaounde?
Rudolph?
No, the
Coyote.
Coyote. I mean, that was her almost perfect match, right? And she was given an ultimatum, and she ended up not choosing him because she wanted to please her family. But I think her life ultimately would have been so much more fulfilling. Like, she wouldn't have gone through everything that she did if she had just chosen herself and made a decision for. Sometimes that decision is hard, but you make hard decisions to be happy. And so I think that's what I'm going to say, that sometimes you have to make a hard decision, but always please yourself. And so, like, piggybacking a little bit on what Jessie said about being selfish, make decisions for yourself.
My work is
Right.
done. Thank you. That achieved my aim. That's what I wanted you all to get. I have nothing to say. But thank you for having me. And I have
Thanks for
to
joining
Thanks
us.
so much
a puppy who has
for
been
being a
very
part of
good,
this.
but he's giving me dirty looks this whole time and looking really wretched. So
God bless.
take him out a little.
Okay.
All right. Thank you
Oh,
so
yeah.
much.
Thanks so much.
Beautifully
Enjoyed
written.
having you, and I will say bye for now.
All right,
Okay,
guys.
thank you, Bisi.
Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Have a good night.
So, good night. You guys can continue.
Okay, that was fun.
That's great.
Are we gonna do a rating?
live? Yeah, let's
Oh,
do
okay,
it.
we can do our ratings.
Oh my God, can we? We'll should watch it.
We should do a whole everyone holding up their book and then have
I
Hold up
don't
your
have my
Kindle.
copy here. So let me
Oh.
hold up
You
my
still have it.
Kindle copy.
Yeah.
Who'll take a
I
picture?
haven't given it back to the library
I
yet.
can take a shift. I can take a
Hang on, wait for me.
yeah when you're done.
I need to go back to the cover page.
Yeah.
Stop screaming.
Okay.
I'm the only one with the old
Wait,
one.
what is
Okay.
happening?
You
You
people
have
have
to
to
I have the
unblur
old
your
one like
blur.
this.
blur.
The blur
I also have
background.
the old one that's at my house. Oh, there we go. Can you see it?
No, you
you
have to
can't. You have to
unblur
turn
your
off
background.
the blur.
Let me turn
So
off
click
my
on
blur.
your
Are we
camera.
still live, guys?
Yes, we
We
are.
kind of are.
We are. Okay, everyone's
Wait, hang on.
okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, just took it.
Yay.
Got it.
Okay. Amazing. So let's do our rating. And then, guys, it has been 2 hours, actually precisely 2 hours and something now, because we started around
Yeah.
5:14. So yeah.
This is crazy.
Okay.
All right, who wants to go first?
I
will give
gave it a 3.75 on Thingamajig. Sorry, what's the app called that we like, Jessie?
Sorry,
Story
Graph.
Storygraph. Oh wow. Completely, yeah. So I gave it a 3.75 on Storygraph. For different reasons. I love the story. I enjoyed it. I think it started out a bit slow for me, but it picks up. Great characters. Wasn't happy ever after, but I do like where Issy came from and where where she got to. And now hearing that there's a sequel makes me feel better about her ending. But I think it didn't quite get to 4 for me because some of the expressions I wish they could have been tightened a little bit, etc., etc. But overall, it's a great read for me.
Okay, I gave it a 4, I think. I should go back to tracking my books on Storygraph, but that's beside the point. Yeah, why didn't it get higher than a 4? I think my experience with the audiobook was not like I loved the book, but yeah, I think it took away from it. If I wish the person that did Peace Adjo Media's audiobook, if that group of people had done this audiobook, it would be perfect. Yeah. So I enjoyed the book. That's why is not I think a lot just Issy could have had like other people could have had character like seen their growth. Like I feel like the brother character development, like if her brother had a bit more of a character development, I
did find myself wanting to know more about
a bit more about what's going on with him.
Yeah, I was like, Kwabena is intriguing. But
yeah. So
yeah.
because she kept saying
this is Issy's story.
he
And we're
has
not like men feature.
Don't let men come and take over our story.
Yeah. How docking points we are men? Because we didn't hear more about the man.
She kept
I
saying
know.
something
Who
about
am I?
Kwabena
Oh my
boy. She kept saying
goodness.
something about Kwabena.
Patriarchy has you by the
That-
Who am I?
he
By the
couldn't-
ovaries.
No, something about Kwabena that she kept saying was that he didn't know how to express himself. So I was curious to know what was going on in his head.
Yes,
you know? She kept saying that. It was something she said multiple times.
Kwabena should write his own book. When Kwabena writes his book,
Kwabena should come and tell us his story. Yes.
His story. I don't even know what Kwabena looks like. Can you picture Kwabena in your head?
No, like
They
I
didn't
have
really describe. Is he tall?
A
Is he
blob of a
short?
brother.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Let me see. You know what? I think I'll go for 4 as well for the book. I enjoyed reading it. I liked, the historical references and all the history that she situated. So the context, I think I enjoyed. And the character and just learning more, I think, about Ghana at that time, or even just Ghana through her eyes. So I enjoyed that. I did feel, Jessie, I think you had said something about this point, but like in terms of explaining certain expressions. And so she'll say something like kalibule, and then she'll explain what that is, rather than kind of leaving it just saying the expression and then having the reader go off and say, what does this mean? Or maybe perhaps not
showing
explaining
it.
it so explicitly, you know what I mean, but maybe more covertly. So I found that because she would say something like, and this is I don't have specific example, like for the Kalabule example, be like, oh, and that means, and I think that means when, the government does A, B, C, D. You know what I mean? So something like that through Essie's voice. That I wish there was less of that. But otherwise, I enjoyed the writing. There was so much happening. That's why I wanted to find out how she actually writes her books, because I felt like, how did she keep it all together with so much going on,
It is the
So
strings of consciousness, isn't it?
yes, I like
Yeah.
that a lot. I do like her
Yeah.
style of writing and just how she's able to fit everything in. So a 4 from me.
Okay, Jessie.
Yeah, me too. I think I'll give it a 4. My favorite part of the book really was the backdrop of the book. Like, I liked reading AC's life with everything happening in Ghana. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I like
So,
that.
like, I really, really like that type of writing. Like, she's not really telling you about Ghana. And also, there were parts where points in the book where she'll connect government to like actual like societal events and
Yeah, like things going on.
And yeah, like these men, they'll lie to you. They've coups upon coups upon coups. Oh, we're making things better, and then it's all the same, and just the same story. What, like 5 different times, 5 different coups. So the backdrop to the story was I really like that.
Mhm.
It's a 4 for me.
Right.
Okay.
What's our total?
3.9 stars.
Nice.
Yay, the teller of secrets.
Done.
Our
Next
next,
Poka Reads.
who was, I think, Nanajwa. So Elise, Nanajwa.
Yes.
Is it me or
Uh,
Nanajwa? If it's me, it's
After
Oh,
Nanajwa,
ruthless.
then
no,
you.
you picked last month. You picked last month. So Nanajwa is next.
Oh, you picked
Hey,
last
she
month.
wants to go
Yeah.
again. No.
She wants us to do
Before
ruthless.
I
That's
let
why
go,
she.
yes. And then you,
Then
and then
me.
I don't know
and
if
then
it's you
me.
or me. Who goes next? I don't
I
know.
start. I started the
You
whole thing
start.
with
Okay,
you.
so then after Nanajwa, I will go and then you go.
No, after Nanajwa is
Wait,
me.
you just went.
No, I didn't.
No, this was from a long time.
This
We
was
chose
your
this book a
book.
long
Oh.
time ago.
No, this is not.
Who- Wait,
Wait,
who chose it?
Yeah, okay, should we close the
Let's
YouTube live
let's close
We'll
the
be
YouTube
back,
live.
and
ladies
discuss
and
this?
gentlemen, and others with the next book for
Okay, hold on.
Poka
Let's
Reads.
close this properly. Yeah, you people
Yeah.
stop confusing our listeners with who's next
We
and
have
who's.
said
We'll
author
update you guys.
interviews are different.
Okay,
So there
fair
are author
enough.
interviews and then there are like the books we choose.
Oh,
Okay, so the last book that we read was this. No, we read Baba Seji's wife
Elise.
ended the
no,
year for
before I
us.
let go for
That
Black
was
History
Elise.
Month. That was me.
So maybe Jessie's next.
No,
then it's-
actually, which one did we read last? Was it the last
Before
book
I
I
let
read,
go.
Baking Cakes in Kigali.
Yeah, so you've already gone because every time I go, you go after me.
Ah, right. Okay, so you're
Yeah.
right. So we read Baba Segi's wife before Baking Cakes in Kigali.
Exactly. Baking Cakes in
Okay,
Kigali.
okay.
Then we
Yeah,
read Nanajwa is next because author, you're right, interviews are different. And then it comes
Yeah.
back to me and then back to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Now the
At least you
last
can tell me your book. I'll just pick it. It's fine.
I've already said it, ruthless. You people should read it and let's discuss.
You guys, can we move
Maybe
out
I
of
should
Ghana?
pick.
The rest of Africa is waiting. Oh,
True.
My pick is Ghana, but I
yeah,
I do think it's
I know
quite
it is.
close.
The rest
No,
of
but
Africa is
now that I'm thinking
waiting.
about it.
Oh, do you
now
have a
that
book in
we
mind
just read-
already?
Me, no.
I did
No,
have a book
I
in
mean
mind
Nanajwa.
already.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can see it. Hamatan Rain by Aisha Haruna Atta.
Oh no, I haven't read this one.
Wait,
I
we are
really
still
enjoyed
live.
it. I read this.
Tipora, can
Um,
we get off live?
yes,
Oh,
let's
okay.
finish. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this brings us to the end of this month's Poker Reads. We read The Tale of Secrets, and the lovely Bisi joined us. She's so much fun,
Yeah,
and
that was
she
fun.
shared her thoughts on the book, and we really liked having her on. So give this a thumbs up if you liked having her on. If you liked the discussion that we had, drop in the comments one thing you're taking away from this book into the rest of your life. That's our thing now. So until the next one, bye.
Bye, y'all.
Okay. God, we got distracted there, but okay.
We're no longer because I see YouTube
No.
at the top.
Same.